guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Trisha, and in today's video I'm going to share with you a much loved recipe from my childhood. This is my mom's take on a Goan style pan-fried beef steak. There are a few differences in the way she would whip up this dish back then and the way I'm doing it now, and I'll explain what those differences are as we get into the recipe. For today's recipe, I'm starting out with some beef sizzled steak, also called minute steak. So if you've got access to a Coles and Woolies in your area, that's Woolworths, they go by either of these two names. And this cut is super tender. This already comes pre-sliced, which means a lot of the prep work is taken care of and cooks up in about a couple of minutes per side. Now, if you don't have access to this particular cut of beef, just do what we used to do back in India. Get your hands on the most tender cut of beef that's available to you. We used to use undercut, so we'd pick up about a kilo or so from the butcher and slice that really thin as you possibly can. And then you're going to use a meat mallet and you're going to take each of those slices and pound that down with the meat mallet on either side. Once that's done, you're good to proceed with the recipe. But because all of that prep work for us is taken care of by this cut of meat, we can get straight on with the marinade. Go ahead and cut the slices down into smaller pieces to make them easy to manage. And I'm going to start with a very basic but a very delicious marinade. Now, the beauty of this marinade is that you can tweak the quantities to suit your preferences. Here's what I do. I go in with about half a teaspoon of salt, or you can add as much as you'd like to taste. A quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper powder. I'd say about an eighth of a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Somewhere between an eighth to a quarter of a teaspoon. You don't really need too much of that. And a scant teaspoon of Kashmiri chili powder. Next, we're going in with a good squeeze of citrus. I'm using lemon. You can use lime if that's what's easily available to you. I've gone in with the juice of about half a lemon. Next, we're going to add some ginger and garlic. A little hack for you: if you get ginger root, just clean it up and chuck it in the freezer, and whenever you need it, it becomes really easy to grate and lasts a whole lot longer. So I've got about half a teaspoon of grated ginger, and I've also got 2 cloves of garlic, which I'm going to grate in there. Now, as another option, you can also use about a teaspoon of ginger garlic paste instead, and that would work just as well. And all that's left to do is give it a good mix. Make sure that every piece of meat is covered with that marinade. Now, once that's done, put a lid on it and set this aside. For the vegetable component of this recipe, I'm using 2 medium-sized onions. I've got 2 tomatoes as well as 2 potatoes that have been peeled. I'm also using 1 green chili. You can use as much or as little chili as you'd like. We're going to start off by splitting that chili in half almost all the way through, but not completely through. And then you're going to cut the onion in thick-ish slices, just like so. And with the potatoes as well, cut them in half like you can see here and cut them into slices. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the tomatoes. And once that's done, you're ready to take everything to the stovetop and get cooking. I'm going to start off by heating a pan on some medium heat and adding about a tablespoon of oil to the pan. For this recipe today, we're going to cook our vegetables individually before we bring it all together. I'm going to start off by frying the potato slices on both sides till they're pretty much cooked through. When the potatoes have cooked through, take them off onto a plate and lightly season with some salt. Next up, we're going to add a little more oil to the pan. The slices of meat I'm using today just need about a minute on each side because they will continue cooking when the rest of the ingredients have been added to the pan. If you're using a different cut of meat, just cook the meat till it's done to your liking. When the meat has cooked through, take the meat off onto a plate and set aside. To bring everything together, we're going to use the same pan. I've just gone in with about another tablespoon or so of oil, and I'm going to start off by flavoring that oil with that split chili first. Next, add in the onion slices. I try as best as I can to separate those layers of onion so that it cooks evenly and spreads all through the dish. And you're going to saute the onions by stirring it from time to time till they've developed a nice golden brown color. At this point, you're ready to add the tomatoes. It's always important to season as you go, so we're going to add some freshly cracked black pepper and some salt to season the onion and the tomatoes. At this point, I've decided to add a touch more of the chili powder, but that's completely optional. Next, I'm adding in some Worcestershire sauce. If you can get your hands on this, please consider adding it to the recipe because it enhances the flavor like you wouldn't believe. I'm using about a tablespoon. And now I'm going to add in any of the leftover marinade that the meat was sitting in. Once that marinade has had a couple of minutes to cook through, I'm going to add the meat back to the pan and stir that through. And then add the potatoes back to the pan as well. At this point, when you're stirring everything through, please be gentle, otherwise your potato slices could break apart. And once the meat and the potatoes have had an opportunity to warm through and soak in all of those juices, your pan-fried steak is ready to serve. So I've served myself a little portion of it just to have a bit of a taste. I know what it's going to taste like and I love it. But for the sake of the video, here goes. That to me is the memory of my childhood. That's my mom's version of a Goan Style Pan-fried steak. I hope you enjoyed the video and the recipe. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share the video with family and friends that you think might enjoy it too. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing to the channel and I'll see you really soon in the next video. Till then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.